Darren and Chris, I want to thank you guys for showing up today. And Doug is a longtime friend and pastor, friend of mine. As it sounds, Darren, you know him as well, but talking synergy with Doug, he has some ideas on how churches can multiply their volunteers, and he's kind of tried and true this. And when I heard his heart behind the whole thing, I thought it went right along with the synergies idea of being able to empower and equip our church pastors and leaders and build them up and strengthen them in any way we can from the admin side of things. So so with that, Doug, if you will take it away and present your ideas.
You bet. You bet. And is Crystal on your team, or is she?
They are the pastors at Hebo Christian Center.
Okay, great. So, all right. So is Crystal with us, or is maybe she just logged in? Okay, great, Crystal.
I am.
All right, great. Glad you could call in. Crystal, will you be able to see the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
If we do a screen share, great, great. Okay. Yep. Well, hey, David said in Psalm 78, verse 72, or it's recorded, David didn't say it, David shepherded them with integrity of heart, and with skillful hands he loved them. And so the first thing we're going to talk about today is that integrity of heart toward volunteers and motive. So the first question that I have to ask myself is, why do I want more volunteers? And it's not a trick question. It's just a dive deep motive question. So let's talk about that for a minute. Darren, Crystal, Jeremy, any of you, why do we want more volunteers?
Well, to be honest, it's to share the load. I mean, seriously, that's what it is. I mean, and I know that I feel like, the right answer, you said not a trick answer or not a trick question, but the right answer I feel like should be, well, to develop their, gifts, their, anointings, their callings. And I know that that's it, but, my flesh reaction is, we need help.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. Those are both right answers. And we're not gonna over spiritualize this, but we are gonna focus on both of those. So Darren, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
Doesn't help, does it? I blipped out for a little while, so I missed the end of your question.
Why do we want more volunteers? So it's a motive question. No wrong answers.
Yeah. Well, I believe that we all need to do this thing together when it comes to ministry. And it's part of what, like Ephesians 4 is telling us to do. We need to equip. And so it's just an opportunity to do that. But just practically, no one person can accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished in a location. We need everyone working together. And so I just see that as the normal way of things.
Yeah. Very good. Jeremy, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, they hit it. You have to multiply yourself, and without multiplying yourself, you can't elevate to be able to then train and equip others to keep doing more of the workload as well. So it's the only way you're going to be able to reach more is by putting more tools in the toolbox for all the people around you.
Yeah. So those are both correct answers, and they're actually the two things that we want to focus on. And we're not going to elevate one above the other. In other words, one being we just need more help, and the other is we want to equip people. And if we don't have people, if we don't get more yeses, we don't have more people to equip. So I see them as equally valuable, and yet there's a very simple breakdown that happens where we end up with less help and less people to equip. And that is we haven't mastered the ask. So I've shared with Jeremy, there's no way I'm going to be able to unpack our, my whole system that I've developed over the last 35 years today. But what I do want to do is talk about those two things. So it's a great start. You guys have created the segue. I want to talk about those two things, the ask and the motive. And I want to give you hope that you can have more volunteers. You can get more yeses. And I want to give you that first golden tool today, and that's how to develop an effective and a successful ask. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of background about why I'm so passionate about this. And I told Jeremy I feel like a kid in a candy store whenever I get to talk about this subject with anybody. So when I started out in youth ministry, I was a youth ministry for a youth pastor for 14 years. Because I'm wired with the gift of administration and I'm a systems person and a teacher, I didn't realize that I cared more about the organization than I did the organisms. I saw people as resources to accomplish my ministries, events, goals, and I didn't really care about them. And when I flipped that, because God just hit me right between the eyes, and I remember the day, I can tell you the day where the Holy Spirit just wrecked me and convicted me. And when I changed my heart toward people and my motive toward people, it started just opening up all these brainwaves and discernments about what I needed to do and how and the Lord taught me how to ask. And there were three really profound encounters that happened in my life, and I'm going to tell you what they are. One is I was coming back from a youth event. We had taken from Tualatin to Huntington Beach, California, 80 kids on 2 buses. We pulled back into the parking lot after 4 days of red eye down, red eye back, the beach, Disneyland, Magic Mountain, and back home. I pulled into the parking lot, got off the bus, and a mom ran up to me, and she was just elated and talking about how her son had been in contact with her already, and how this trip just changed her life, and she was thanking me. And I was hearing that, but in my brain, I was thinking something else. So I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, lady. Your son's life was changed, but do you know what time it is? Do you know it's 4 o'clock? And do you know that my color brochure says that we would return at 4 o'clock? And we replaced a radiator on the way home, and I still nailed it. And I heard myself thinking that, and I walked away, and the Holy Spirit just convicted me. And I felt ashamed that that's how I thought about ministry, that my administrative gifts had overridden my heart for people. And I discovered that they don't have to be in conflict, that the gift of administration is just as spiritual as any of the other gifts. It's listed in Romans 7 as one of the gifts given by the Holy Spirit, but it doesn't have to cancel the heart and the soul for people. And so I just started thinking, man, how can I flip this? And I sat down with Randy Campbell, and we had something in common. He was a very successful youth pastor at a large church for a while. And I said, Randy, you don't strike me as a junior high youth pastor. And he goes, oh, I wasn't. He goes, I said, but I've heard the stories about how you just rocked it. He goes, no, they rocked it. And he said, I don't even like kids. And when he said that, I saw me in the mirror. I didn't even like being a teenager, let alone I didn't feel a connection with teenagers. But I realized that with my administrative gifts, I could surround myself with people that were connected with teenagers. And so I started asking questions. The Lord gave me 3 other profound encounters. One was I heard Jack Hayford, and it was an old recording of a teaching he did at a men's event. And he talked about katartizo, and it just blew up my brain. He said, did you know that, and Darren, you mentioned Ephesians 4, to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. Well, let me ask you, Darren and Crystal, when I say equip, equip the saints for the work of the ministry, let's just do that little game. I say blue, what's the first color? I say pizza, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So when I say equip, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Me,
Give them
it's,
tools.
What's
Go
that?
ahead.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Darren.
sorry about that. The first thing that comes to mind is give them what they need.
Okay. Yeah. Give them what they need. Crystal?
That's exactly what I was going to say. The tools, like Jeremy was talking about, the toolbox. Yep.
I like that. I like that. I like that that's the way you guys were already thinking. I thought it just meant get people doing things. And I think honestly, if you were to line up 100 pastors, 75 of them, they would say, and I appreciated Crystal's candor. I know the spiritual answer is, but the reality is I need help, but I think we would have spiritual answers, but in the mind, the reality is we would say, man, I need equipping. I need to get people doing things. So if I can get you doing this, then I've started a ministry. And if I can get you doing that, then I've started a ministry. And if I can get you over here doing this, then I've started a ministry. Now I've got 3 ministries, and that's going to help with retention. And if I can get more people doing things, and I can create more, and I'm going to use the term synergy, but in a negative sense, right? And so we just got a bunch of people doing things, and it diminishes from there to us hoping that they don't quit on us, and them feeling like they've signed up to the black hole of this is my job until Jesus comes. And that's just not a healthy culture. Where if we can really lean into giving them what they need, then we've changed the culture, and their experience with us is that we value them more as a person than as a product, more as a soul than as a resource. And their experience becomes that what they receive and benefit and how they're enriched from serving outweighs their expense of time and energy. So they're getting more out of it than they give because we're pouring into them. So what we want to do is build into our mindset for multiplying volunteers, first and foremost, the motive. Why do I want more volunteers? And I'm just going to tell you what it's done for me over the years is instead of my motive being I need more help so I'm not drowning, it is, wow, I can use my volunteer workforce as my avenue and to access for discipleship. See, think about it. In the church, we always kind of categorize out volunteer help and training from discipleship. So we have these discipleship programs going on, and we have classes, and we have groups, and we have small groups, and we have things you can sign up for, and video product, things that they can do, and online. And then over here here are the jobs that need to be done. Here are the volunteers that we need. What if we were to blend those and create less work for ourselves, where we spent quality time learning how to ask, care, and train, and our volunteer workforce became our platform, our venue for spiritual growth and enrichment and spiritual formation. So when I was at Horizon Community Church for 15 years, Stan Russell asked me if I would take over small group development. And my first thought was, man, that sounds like a lot of work. And that's going to require a lot of volunteers. And that's going to be a lot of recruiting. And then I remembered, oh, wait a minute. If I can increase the number of people leading groups, I have that many more people that I can, quote, train. But yet my philosophy is my training events, my training conversations are spiritual formation. So because I had learned how to ask, when I inherited it at the end of fall, where we sunsetted our life groups every year, there were 17 groups with 17 leaders. So each group had a leader. Through the summer, I hit the streets. No Sunday morning announcements, no clipboard signups, just one-on-one asks. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And by the end of summer, through the summer, when people are supposed to be gone and vacationing, phone calls and kitchen tables, when we kicked off life groups in March, we had 90 volunteers and we doubled the number of groups. And I realized that now I've got 90 people that is now going to become our platform for leadership development, future deacons, future elders, because I have an excuse now. With these 90 people, I get to call training meetings. Well, guess what those training meetings are? They're just spiritual formation meetings and discipleship. It's not just how to do, it's lacing in there questions like, hey, share with me something that the Lord's showing you about you. Hey, share with me something that the Lord is showing you about him. And they got used to me answering those questions. And half of our training sessions would be how to memorize scripture, because you got to have some scriptures in your arsenal to be able to stay the course and know how to minister to others in the areas that you're serving. I teach them how to know the difference between responsible to and responsible for, and teach them how to protect themselves from very dependent people, and teach them how to soap. Every time that we got together as training, and I still do this today. Saturday morning was our ministry team meeting. We opened up the ministry team meeting with a group soap. We picked a scripture and we did a group soap together. Everybody knows what soap is now, right? Scripture, observation, application, prayer. So what I'm telling you is it's good to have the motive of I need more volunteers, but the motive isn't I need more volunteers to get more work done and so I don't drown. That's going to happen. That's just going to be the default factor of learning how to be successful at the ask, but it's also going to increase your venue for access to people for spiritual formation. And so it's a win-win, and you lace it all together. So we're going to teach you how to get more yeses, but the motive for more yeses is more people to disciple. And what you do is you lace that into your training events, okay? So any questions so far? I'll come up for air and
That's some
okay,
really
so
good stuff, Doug. That's some really good stuff. Thank you.
okay, so I'm going to tell you the 3 profound encounters that changed me. One was Jack Hayford and Katar Tidzo. He said that the word equip in Ephesians 4 is Katar Tidzo. And contrary to our natural motives, it does not mean get more people doing more stuff. Equipping the saints for the work of the ministry, right? So he revealed that it is the same word that Jesus used when calling to the disciples. He said, come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men, Katar Tidzo. And the word Katar Tidzo means mending nets. So in another passage where it says, and finding them mending their nets, he said to them. So the word there is Katar Tidzo. So he unpacked how, what does it mean to mend nets? Well, back in the day when they were round nets that had to be thrown out of the boat onto the lake, the first step in mending nets was removing the debris. The second step was tying the loose ends, and the third step was preparing for deployment, in that order. And so, he was talking about ministry and relationships and discipleship. And when I got done with that, I thought, man, what if I could adopt that mindset for my volunteers, where my first agenda in their lives was to remove the debris, tie up the loose ends, and prepare them for deployment, rather than just hand out the clipboard, sign them up, hope they keep doing the job, and live in fear of synergy, or excuse me, fear of attrition. Sorry about that. I got synergy on my brain. Live in fear of attrition, right? I mean, isn't that the truth? We all live in fear of attrition. If people don't keep doing what they're doing, the wheels are going to fall off. That ministry is going to die. We're going to lose retention because we don't have that stickiness of that ministry that we can say we have. And we're just hoping we don't get that call on Saturday night. And that's of somebody that's not going to serve. And that's the culture of our volunteer workforce. And so what if I really saw this as my platform in people's lives for doing what Jesus said his mission was? Because his mission is our mission, right? And his mission was to, get this, bind up the brokenhearted, set the captives free, prepare them for the day of the Lord, right? Remove the debris, bind up the broken, tie up the loose ends. That's mending nets. Jesus was about mending nets, removing debris, tying up the loose ends, and preparing for deployment. What we do is we ask people to volunteer, and then we don't realize that we're not truly invested in their spiritual health as a volunteer, unless they happen to sign up over here in a different box for discipleship, or they're in a small group. But again, I'm saying, let's put it together, make it easier for ourselves, and change the culture of our church, where people, because we are investing and pouring ourselves into them spiritually, in other words, I care about that nursery volunteer, what's going on in their life, that nursery director, what's going on in their life. I care if they're serving dry. I care if they're serving full. How can I make sure that they're serving full? Because that creates retention. That's an environment that people want to be a part of and serve long-term in. And so retention is solved. Attrition is solved. I don't have to work in that far. People want to be a part of that environment. So the second thing that happened is I had an encounter with a former youth pastor that had gone fireman. I ran into him one day, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing now?" And this was up in the Portland area. And he said, "Hey, I'm actually a fireman. I'm not in youth ministry. I'm a fireman." And I said, "Tell me something that you've learned about being a fireman that has affected your view of ministry." And without hesitation, he goes, "Oh man, I learned that the church knows nothing about training. We don't train. We don't know how to train. It is our weak spot." And he said, "I realized being in the fire department culture," and then he mentioned the school, the public school system, the police department, the military, they all know how to train. And he spoke to me in a sentence, a model for training that is universal and it applies everywhere. And so we're not going to be able to get into that today, because that's part of the last piece of the 3 pillars of your volunteer workforce philosophy: ask, care, and train. We've talked about care. We're going to get into the ask here in just a minute. So any questions or anything you want to just weigh in on that? What is the Holy Spirit prompting in your heart right now as you hear these things?
So much truth, and it's actually kind of comforting to know that my my experience, our experience is kind of common.
Yeah.
Because, you kind of think that you're out there on your own and you're the only one struggling with these things, but to hear you encapsulate it is amazing. Thank you.
Darren, any thoughts?
Okay, my unmute button didn't unmute. Anyway, yeah, I would just have to agree with that, definitely. I'm just processing. I see a lot of this stuff that it's like, whoops, we should have been doing that. We should have been doing that. And I'm just trying to process it and learn and put it into our situation here. So I can see that some damage that's been done, and I can see that if some of this stuff certainly needs to be, we need to bring it into our situation here in Oregon.
So I want to encourage you again and summarize this first portion, that what we're talking about is blending spiritual formation and recruiting, not letting them be separate in our culture. We're going to recruit. We're going to get lots of yeses because we're going to ask properly. And we're excited about doing that and motivating that because it gives us access to more people to form them spiritually, because we're going to integrate into our training as much spiritual formation as how to change diapers or where to buy the supplies or how to choose a curriculum. Make sense? And it's an all-in-one, especially for smaller churches. It's an all-in-one, and you don't have to have all these different venues, because when you think of separate venues, that's just another time slot in people's time frame. So you got to have a training meeting for how to do the job, and then you got to have another meeting because you want to have a discipleship meeting or a spiritual formation venue. And so, that's going to be at this time, and this is going to be at this time. Man, it's all in one. I have access to people now, and meanwhile, I'm bringing so much more value to their service that the word gets out, and it's a different environment. And people, we have trained our people that no matter, and this is not just the Assemblies of God. I'm not talking about a denomination or a fellowship. I'm talking about the church universal. It's a common universal dilemma. And no matter where you go to church, if I go to church in this town and I move to another church, I've already been trained by every church I've been in, and my experience as a volunteer, what the motive is for why they're asking, and that I'm signing up for, this is the job, the black hole of my job from now until Jesus comes. And we wonder why people don't want to, quote, sign up. Well, the reason that they don't want to sign up is because they don't see training in our culture. And if they don't see training in our culture, they don't see succession. And if they don't see succession, this is my job from now until Jesus comes. Right? So we're going to flip that. We're going to change the culture. We're going to get more yeses. We're going to bring more value, and it's going to create more retention. So the other profound event that happened in my life, and this will transition us to the ask, is the golden circle from Simon Sinek. Have Crystal or Darren, have either of you not heard of the TED Talk that Simon Sinek did years ago called The Golden Circle, The Art of the Ask? Okay,
I have not heard it.
Crystal,
I have not
you?
heard it.
Okay,
No,
I
haven't.
buckle your seatbelts. I'm about to rock your world, okay? Are you ready? This is going to completely revolutionize your confidence in asking for volunteers. So write down Simon Sinek. Jeremy, do you know how he spells his name?
Yeah, Simon and then Sinek.
Sinek, yeah. So he's written a book on the subject. You can YouTube for free there's even it started out as an 18-minute talk, TED talk. It's been trimmed down to 3 minutes, and you can get and I'm going to give you even less than that. So what he reveals is that there is one common denominator in all 5 of the top 5 Fortune 500 companies that are in sales. And the thing that they have in common is they start with the why. They move to the how and they end with the what. You will discover that in volunteer recruiting, we do it the exact opposite of that by nature. We start with the what, we leave out the how, and we leave out the why. We just give them the what. We need a new sound guy. We hit somebody in the hallway. Hey, after church, hey, would you be willing to run sound? Or we might say, would you be willing to learn how to run sound? But we don't have a training plan in mind. And so it's kind of like, Darren, have you had any kids?
I have 3.
Yeah. Are they beyond teenage years yet?
Yeah, they're all adults.
Okay. How about you, Crystal?
Yeah, three kiddos, one still at home. She's almost 20. The boys are married and have kids.
Okay. So I'm your daughter, and I'm going to come up to you and ask you a question. I want you to tell me what your initial reaction is, what you're like, just in your head, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? So you ready? I'm your 15-year-old daughter, and I'm coming to ask a question. Mom, Dad, can I go to the movies?
Who are you going to go with? How are you going to get there? Who's going to pay for it?
Right? Darren, what's the first thing that popped into your mind?
Well, believe it or not, I missed all of that because I just blanked out again. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but
So what's
I have no idea what you just said.
So I'm a teenager, and I'm your 15-year-old daughter. I'm walking up to you and I'm asking a question. What's the first thing that pops into your mind? Dad, can I go to the movies?
First thing that comes to mind. Who are you going with and what are you going to see?
Right? Let me tell you what my first response was the first time my daughter asked like that. My brain just immediately said, no. And she goes, what do you mean no? I said, honey, I'm gonna teach you something right now to teach me something. You need to learn to train me to say yes. So you are training me to say no by nature of all the information that you're leaving out. It just puts me on my heels. So if you want to train your dad, you want to train me? She goes, oh yeah. You want to train me to say yes? Here's what it sounds like. Hey, Dad, I'd like to go to the movies. We're going to see Frozen. It's going to cost $9. We're going to go to the late show because that's what works out for everybody. And so we won't be back until midnight. Susan's mom's going to take us, and I already have the money from babysitting. I just want to say yes to that. Right? So I use that. So it's the information that we leave out that makes others want to say no. So so the Lord showed me one day, and I mean this, it was the Lord that showed me this. Doug, the way you trained your daughter to train you to say yes is how you have to train your volunteers to say yes. So don't walk up to them in the hallway after church and ask them and say, hey, we could really use some more nursery workers. Would you be willing to work in the nursery? Don't pass a clipboard that says, sign up for nursery workers and make an announcement on Sunday morning. Hey, we really could use some more nursery workers. We're going to pass a clipboard today. Would you be willing to sign up? And it doesn't matter if you're a large church. Large churches are not off the hook. They do the same thing. It's just a little prettier. They do a web login, go to our website, and that's supposed to really make it more inviting for people. It's just an electronic clipboard being passed around. Every church, every size does the same thing. And I'm here to tell you, the way that we recruit volunteers are the absolute most unsuccessful ways, and we keep repeating them over the decades. It's like insanity, continuing to do the same things, expecting a different outcome, right? The definition of insanity, right? So no more clipboards, no more Sunday morning announcements. We're going to start with the why. We're going to move to the how. We're going to end to the what. So let me tell you what Simon Sinek said. He gave it an example. He said, the difference between a successful vacuum salesman and an unsuccessful one. The majority will knock on the door. They've got a vacuum sitting there. You open the door and they start with the what? Can I show you my vacuum? You already want to shut the door. You don't have time for this. I'm going to, if you'll allow me, I'm going to come in, and they move to the how. I'm going to come in, I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to vacuum your, no, you're not. That's creepy. And then they show why, and they show that box of crud that they claim to be able to take out of the carpet. And I can take this much crud out of your out of 2 square feet of your carpet. If I could take this much crud out of 2 square feet of your carpet, would you buy my vacuum? Well, the door's already shut. They didn't even get to this part, right? But what about the guy that has the vacuum around the corner, and he walks up, knocks on the door, person opens the door, and he says, ma'am, I've got a question for you. If I could show you that I could take this much crud, and he pours it out into his hand out of 2 square feet of your carpet, would you let me? Well, how are you going to do that? That's disgusting. You see where this is going? You starting with the why. That guy got in the door. Matter of fact, when he showed him that, she said, he said, are you telling me that you can get that much out of my carpet, 2 square feet of carpet? That vacuum's already sold and she hasn't seen it yet, or he hasn't seen it yet. All right. So Simon Sinek pointed out the importance of the why. When I heard this, again, it was one of the 3 major encounters. Catertizzo, the fireman, and the Golden Circle changed my mindset about getting more volunteers, keeping more volunteers. Getting the yes by starting with the why, keeping them by caring and by training. And so we've got ACT, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask, we're going to care, we're going to train. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you a sample. This is one I just used for our production team. Can everybody see that? So this is just a 2-sided half sheet. Print off, cut it in half. It's a handout. So this is how it rolls. I walk up to somebody. I hand them this and I say, hey, Susan, would you please look at this week? Pray over it, and I'm going to follow up in 1 week and just call you and ask you what your thoughts are. I want to see if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, what your feelings are about this. Would you do that this week? And that's the end of the conversation. I put it in their hand, and their answer is always, sure, I'll look at it, I'll pray. And then I follow up a week later. And about 80% of the time, the answer is yes. So notice what I've done. I've taken the conversation out of the hallway. I didn't put them on their heels. I put all the information in their hands. I'm not giving them any information in that conversation, except what's on paper. There's no verbal information. They don't have to remember. They can walk away. They can look at it in detail. They can think about it. They can pray. And if I get a no out of that person, I was supposed to get that no, because that just means that they're going to respond to a different ask in a different area of ministry. And I'm good with no's as long as I've done the correct, successful ask, because the scripture says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So no is apparently a spiritual answer. So I celebrate no's. I don't get bummed about no's, because that just means I'm going to get a yes from that person somewhere else when I hit their area of interest and their area of calling. So notice that the first word of every flyer that I hand out when I'm recruiting is because. And I finish that sentence. Because we are passionate about people hearing the gospel and seeing the message, our audiovisual ministry is mission critical. Some people learn by seeing and others by hearing. Most people learn best with both. And those with obstacles like mobility problems, hearing and vision loss, and accessibility issues might not find it feasible to even sit in a traditional service. That's why we're dedicated to our audiovisual production outreach. So I'm talking about mission, I'm talking about outreach, I'm talking about a felt need, a pain point. How? Well, the AV production team members operate the slides, the video program, the camera, the soundboard. Annie is also available as a backup in case of any issues. The initial training takes place about 30 minutes to 1 hour, as long as you need, and more in-depth training is available to those who are interested. We hope to train 4 church members. Now, this is key. I'm telling them that they're not the only person that I'm recruiting. I'm recruiting a team. They're going to be a part of the team. It's not going to be, there's going to be a rotation. It's not going to be just them every week. 4 church members to serve in the capacity, so the team members will be on a rotating schedule. That way, each team member will produce 1 Sunday per month. What? Would you prayerfully consider learning how to be a part of the AV production team? Please let Annie know if you're interested. Annie will also be reaching out to each of us to see who is willing to give it a try. Now, be honest. How many of you, if you were asked to write a piece like this, it would be inverted, and you would have started with, hey, would you prayerfully consider learning how to be a part of the AV production, and the how and the why may not even have been present, or it would have been lean.
Oh, 1000%. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this works. When I was a youth pastor and I first started practicing this, I had a youth group of 60 kids at Grace Community Church in Tualatin and 25 volunteers. We had a ratio of 1 to 4 students, and I didn't even like teenagers. But I knew that God, I'm just being honest with you, I didn't have a connection with teenagers, but I knew I could write a why, a how, and a what, and I could keep 5 of them in my Bible, and I would walk around on Sunday morning with these in my Bible. And it might be about being a youth leader. It might be about being a bus driver. And the bus driver had its own why that was missional, how, and what. And I would walk around and look for adults that were having a conversation with a teenager. Because if if a teenager's having a conversation with an adult, that's a miracle anyway. But if there's smiles happening and laughter happening, I'm like, oh, I'm on that person. They are as good as hooked. They're going to be one of my youth leaders. And I would wait until that conversation was over. I would walk up And I would hand that to them and say, Susan, would you, Scott, would you take a look at this week? Just look at it, pray over it, think about what questions you might have. I'm going to call you in a week and follow up. I just want to know what your thoughts are. There's no reason for them to be on their heels, and I'm giving them all the information. They can see that they're going to be trained. They don't even have to know what the training process is. And half of the time, I'm going to be honest with you, and I learned this in my coaching training, because I'm a trained coach now. I've been in that process for the last 4 years. I just about blew my mind the first time that somebody told me that the process of building a coaching business is clients before content. And as a pastor and a teacher, I went, no, you prepare content, then you deliver. I've been preparing content my whole life, how many weeks out of the year? Nope, you don't even have to know what your training process is going to be when you recruit that person. And I'm gonna, in the future, you guys are gonna have an opportunity, and I've shared this with Jeremy. I am putting together a 6-week coaching course where I'm going to walk anybody that wants to week by week through these steps of ask, care, and train. And I'm going to, anybody that signs up, first I'm going to offer a free first session. I just call it a discovery session, where we just have a conversation about where you want to start, what your greatest need is, where is your most desperate need for volunteers, how to wordsmith an ask, how to follow up. I give you all the scripts for following up, and then teach you how to discover what your training process is going to be. And so that you're not having to, in a vacuum, write content for training. It's just shockingly brainless. It's just doing the right things the right way in the right order, and you come out on the other end, you have training. And I can't tell you how many times I have recruited a volunteer with something like this and then started the training process, because I just start asking the questions and writing down the answers to the right questions. If I know what the questions are, I know what to write down, and I have a training curriculum. And a training can just be my first session. It's kind of like teachers. You've heard, if you've ever been in the teaching industry, teachers will tell you that their professors have told them, you've only got to be one step ahead of the class, right? So you don't have to create all of this content for spiritual formation and for training to get volunteers. You don't have to have that first in order to get volunteers. You can start stacking up volunteers. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing more motivating for sitting down the day before a training event that you've planned, and you've already got it in you. You already know how to do this if you know what the elements of that training event are. You're going to come up with a spiritual formation piece. You're going to come up with a encouragement piece, an enrichment piece, and a how to do it. And the how to do it comes last, because what they go away from that is, man, I got more out of this than I was asked to do. I was enriched, I was discipled, and I was encouraged, and I learned how to do my job a little bit better. And so you can put that on a napkin the night before. There's nothing more motivating when you have it straight in your head that spiritual formation, caring comes after the ask, and training comes after that. You ask, you get them engaged. There's nothing more motivating to prepare for spiritual formation and for training than having people to do it. It's boring. It's like eating rice with chopsticks to sit down and create spiritual formation content and training content for volunteers that you might have someday. And that's the way we've done it for years. Churches do it all the time. They think, well, we need more volunteers. Well, first of all, if we are going to train, we got to have some training content because we got to be ready for them. No, you don't. Get them engaged. Get them in the room with you. Train for the next day. And I can show you where you can, no matter what the size of your church is, you can double your volunteer force in 3 months. If you have 5 volunteers, you'll have 10. If you have 10 volunteers, you'll have 20 in 3 months. And you don't have to do all the work. If you sign up for this 6-week course, I'm going to ask you to bring your current volunteers. And I'm going to show them how to multiply themselves. So your current nursery director who's sucking wind and needs more help, and you feel the responsibility of get them more help. No. We're going to equip them to multiply themselves by doing the ask, and equip them to bring the spiritual formation to their team and the training to their team, because you don't know how to train nursery volunteers, but the one that you have does, because they're already doing it. So all we're going to do is show them how to write down the things they do and pass it on. So I'll give you one more sneak just preview. Crazy simple. It happened behind a U-Haul truck from a fireman. I said, "What have you learned about training?" He said, "It's simple, Doug. It's a template and it just rotates." I'll do it. You watch. Step 2, we do it together. Step 3, you do it, I watch. Step 4, they do it, you watch. I'm out. 4 steps to training. Anybody can do it. That's your model. That's your template. I'll show you how to implement that in any area of ministry. So the ask process, the care process, and the train process is universal to every single area of ministry. So if you're interested in signing up for something like that, I will make a commitment to, again, meet with you for just a discovery session, and then and that's free. And after that, we'll make it as affordable as possible. And I will commit to walk with you for those 6 weeks. And if you haven't doubled your volunteers, I will walk with you until you have. If you'll do the right things the right way in the right order, you will have more volunteers. You'll multiply. So we've got a couple of minutes for some questions.
First off, thank you, Doug. I want to say thank you very much. I was rather intrigued. There's a few takeaways I even took out of this, and from myself, for the Synergy team I'm building, and just even thinking of myself as being one of those volunteers at our church. And I really love the part where you were talking about over the years from many churches, how I've kind of been trained to just do the what of the volunteer job and not actually being trained and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of hear you on that part of the church in a universal manner. So, but yeah, again, Crystal, Darren, do you guys have any questions of Doug? We have a few minutes left that we can answer any of your questions for you.
Well, not a question. I just wanted to say I appreciate it. I'm kind of a how-to guy, and this gives some steps on, things to concentrate on and to grow with, and I appreciate that. So just for me, I have to go through my notes a couple of times, and I'll process through all of this today, and I want to be able to use it.
Yeah, and you feel free, Darren, to give me a call anytime. Jeremy's got my number. Maybe Jeremy, you could just send an email to them with my contact, and that way you guys can call me anytime, or I can just give you my phone number right now. It's 503-582-1078. 503-582-1078. feel free to call me and ask me any questions about the coaching system or just about your next steps. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to just walk you guys through it with your group. I had a pastor tell me one time, hey, man, I'd love to do that. I just don't have anybody for that. And pastors, think about that. I don't have anybody to like oversee this ministry or take, you know, or manage this. Yes, you do. Don't think that way. We can train the people that are all, if you've only got one volunteer and all he does is, and that's the only volunteer you have, and all they do is mow the lawn, I can get you another lawnmower. And they're the ones that will do the recruiting, and they're the ones that will do the training, not you. Multiply means we equip our current volunteers that are currently volunteering and leading to multiply themselves and bring the spiritual formation, bring the training. And as a pastor or as a leader, maybe all you do is you get the joy of being the speaker at the training events. And, you know, coming in, bringing spiritual formation, loving them, and just sort of guiding the process. But I will do the training. I'm not, I don't want you to walk away from this, because we do this as pastor, walk away, man, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to do that kind of footwork, legwork. Don't take that away. I'm telling you, I'll train your current volunteers to reproduce themselves. Crystal, you have any questions?
Yeah, tons of questions, but I think I've got enough to chew on already without getting into anything else. But thank you so much, Doug and Jeremy. Seriously, this has been good. You know, it kind of hurts my heart that there are only a handful of us here, but I know this is going to be recorded, and I know I'll go back and listen and listen and listen. And I took tons of notes, so thank you. And yeah, sorry, no video, but I had just done my morning workout and it's not pretty, so.
That is the beauty. We'd rather you have you here in your ponytail and workout clothes not seen than not here at all. That's the beauty.
So anyway, thanks guys, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And so with that, I'm going to say again, thank you, Doug, so much for your time and effort. We'll be in contact with all of you. The recording will be out. It'll probably be about a week or two until we get it out to everyone, and we'll also push it out there so that others who might not have been able to make today can definitely see this. This is going to be, if you guys haven't been or seen our OregonAG.org/synergy site, past recordings and things like that. We're still working on the website, but our past recordings should be on there as well, so that any other events that you want to see as well, or future webinar recordings. Our next one will be in December with Pastor Bill talking about calendar planning. And so that would be another good segue for you guys to definitely take the time to hear his thoughts on proper calendar planning, so for your entire team. So with that, I just want to say thank you again from the Oregon Mission Network and the Synergy team, and blessings upon all of you today.